Good evening and welcome to the Standards of Geekness YouTube page. Tonight we're going to be enjoying some Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, deck profiles, and Duelist Cup gameplay. Tonight's profile will be featuring the Tenpai Dragon list that I've been playing in the Duelist Cup, currently at rank 16. I haven't had really a whole lot of time to play today. I should hit 20 hopefully by the end of stage 1. Without further ado, so, just to kind of hit the ground running, we've got your pretty standard hand trap selections. Max Sieve, 3 copies of that, 2 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. That card's been really, really good and really, really clutch in a lot of matchups in particular. Really good versus the mirror and just being able to shut down problematic cards. 3 Ash Blossom Joyous Springs, obviously a super powerful hand trap. 3 Tenpai Dragon Pydra. This is the one of the 1 card starters. 2 copies of Tenpai Dragon Padra. A lot of people are on 1 copy. I like 2 just because sometimes that first one gets picked off by a random removal spell, gets picked off and discarded. I just like having a second one. 2 copies of Tenpai Dragon Genroku, 1 copy of Dora Dora, 3 copies of Tenpai Dragon Chandra. This is the crux of your monsters. It's your tuner. That's your only normal tuner that isn't through an effect like Genroku. The card's just absolutely nuts. It's one of my favorite cards. 1 copy of the recently limited Dimension Shifter. This card I've gone back and forth on. I was never the biggest fan of it at 2. At 1 copy, it's worthwhile enough versus Terra Elements and other graveyard-based synergies, and it actually has applications in the mirror too. A lot of the reasons I actually wanted to do a deck profile and to discuss gameplay is I'm seeing a lot of people call this deck, low skill or just brain dead. That's not really a thing when it comes to gaming. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. Um, there's a lot of skill in decision making. There's a lot of skill in doing math, and just card evaluation, figuring out what cards are your threats, what's threatening you. 1 copy of BCO Magnemut. The card's just absolutely insane. It's a hand trap versus a lot of the dark decks. I've used it a lot against Gimmick Puppet. 2 copies of Nibiru. You'll notice in my list in particular, I'm not playing Effect Veiler or Droll and Lockbird currently. I have played that in the past, and they're very good, against the mirror and whatnot. But this, I had a feeling with the Duelist Cup, a lot of people would not be playing the mirror. They would be trying a lot of different things, and it's paid dividends. 2 copies of Regeki. I mean, it's a pretty standard board breaker. 1 copy Harpy Feather Duster. 1 copy Heavy Storm. These obviously are very, very good versus the back row heavy stun decks. Labyrinth, which I've ran into my fair amount of Labyrinth. 2 copies of Lightning Storm. It's got utility as both a board breaker for monsters and for spell and traps. 2 copies of Sangan Summoning. Obviously, this card's just ridiculous. The ability to blanket protect all of your fire dragons from targeted effects. It shuts down Nibiru in the mirror. It shuts down Effect Veiler. And it's just over. It lets you tutor for what you need, basically. 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. This card's kind of gone in and out of favor in its time and its existence. The card's been absolutely stone cold. It's one of my favorite cards in the whole deck. The ability to just shut down Dragoon, pretty much any Omni Negate board. 3 Sangan Kaiman, obviously it's a 1-card starter. It's got applications, being able to tutor it normally outside the battle phase, but if you're in the battle phase, it lets you tutor and then special summon. There's some applications where you'll tutor out like Genroku from the deck, but then summon your Fadra or your Shunjo that's already in your hand, and then be able to use your Genroku's effect to summon it. And then 3 Infinite Impermanence. It does the job of Effect Veiler. It's the ability to also shut down a back row is pretty nifty. Moving on to the extra deck, we've got 1 copy of Black Rose Dragon, 1 copy of Black Rose Moonlight Dragon. Just some utility synchros. They're both level 7. They both have the ability to pick off cards. Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon. The card is just absolutely insane in the mirror. Samurai Destroyer is particularly good against Yubel and other things that can't be destroyed. Just allows you to push through. A lot of people don't play Kubielt, the Blade Dragon. I like its ability to just pop a card. And then it also has the ability to target one monster on the field and it can't attack ability. So it buys you a turn if it gets destroyed. Tenpai Dragon. The card's just absolutely nuts. If you played Tenpai Dragon or against it, you know what it does. But when it's synchro summon, it lets you special summon a fire dragon from the graveyard. And you can't special summon anything but dragons. And then it has the ability to revive itself and then blow up a spell and trap card. I mean, what more can you ask? One copy of Trident Dragon. This is the ability to do 18,000 damage. It's nuts. There's a lot of games where you won't pull it off, but then there's some games where you just smack someone upside the head for like 9,000, 18,000 damage. I've actually played games where my opponents have gotten up to like 15, 16,000 life points through combos, and then I'm able to push through. Rudy Rose Dragon. This card it's a fire dragon, and its ability to kind of just remove the graveyard is really, really good. 10-star Baron de Flora. This card's just an Omni Negate. Its ability to also shuffle itself back in and then special summon something out. I've used that to win games. We've got another 10-star Sengenpai Transcendent Dragon. Obviously, the main ability you're using it for is your opponent can't activate cards or effects during the battle phase. So basically, you're using this to kind of shut them out. So in the mirror, they can't synchro or activate any of their synchro effects during the battle phase. They can't activate any spell or traps such as Forbidden Droplet. And then in the mirror, if somebody's got something that can't be destroyed by battle, but it's really weak, it turns into attack mode, and it also has the ability to revive itself and then pop a card. Yeah, that's pretty much the deck profile. So let's move on to gameplay. So, if I remember correctly, this is a ice barrier deck. I've got some hand traps. I'm gonna fire off my Max C here to just kind of force them into using, if they have Ash Blossom or Call by the Grave, which they have Call by the Grave to shut down my Max C. But I'm not particularly worried because I have Nibiru, which is really, really good versus this deck. Honestly, when it comes to using your hand trap, sequencing is everything. Obviously, they're going to continue to combo off. My whole goal here is to just prevent them from getting a bunch of Omni Negates and to just force them to use as much resources as possible. They're going to tutor up their thing that lets them special summon a bunch of tokens. Excuse me. This card right here, it's a kind of a negate. It's like a soft negate is the best way I can frame it. They're going to go ahead and special summon a token, and then they're going to grab their continuous spell, which lets them keep going. I was a little puzzled as to why they didn't bother to fire it off, but obviously, so let me go ahead and pause this here. So Nibiru here is, the reason I'm firing off Nibiru is that card that they just played, Sword Soul Supreme Sovereign. So this card's one of my absolute favorite cards in the game. I love Sword Soul. It's just one of my favorite archetypes. Right here, if it were to be destroyed by card effect, with us playing as many board breakers as we are, they can just banish a bunch of cards from their graveyard to prevent it from dying. But then it also, whenever they banish something, they can remove a card from our field and graveyard. So it's a kind of a 2-for-1, 2.5 for 1. It's going to also trigger. I didn't want to trigger it, but I'd rather get this off the board now. So due to this dying, they're going to be able to synchro summon another ice barrier from their extra deck. So they've got a ridiculously huge token. They're going to bring out Trishula, Dragon and Ice Barrier. So it's going to pick off Nibiru, and I believe it hits Tenpai Dragon Hydra, which it does. I'm not particularly worried here. I mean, obviously drawing Rikaki there is pretty clutch. There is a little bit of sequencing. So a lot of people, I've seen people wait to fire this off to the battle phase. With the way my hand's positioned right here, I would rather get that out now and be able to revive it with Fadra with a normal summon. So we're going to go ahead and fire off the Regeki. It's going to wipe out their board. Going to get Shindra. We're going to get Fadra to bring back the Genroku. This is going to make Biting It Dragon. We're going to bring back Shindra. That's 1,500 on board. We're going to hit him for 32, 48, 68, 76. They're dead on board. We're going to go for the good old-fashioned Trident Dragon. Now here, I don't actually need to blow up both cards. They're dead on board. They have 600 life points. And they're just going to get smacked for 6,000, and that's game. Let's go ahead and move on to the next game. So as you'll see here, I don't draw any hand traps. I have one board breaker. They've got Speedroid Terratop into the Takatomaborg. They're going to go off for their synchros. I'm not particularly worried just because I do have the ability to droplet, you know, or this is the Goblin Biker matchup. Sorry. They're going to go off with Taurus Goblin Biker. It's an interesting deck. I can't complain with what they do. They're going to go ahead and do what they've got to do in terms of they're going to make the zombie vampire. They're going to mill. They're going to keep their combo going to try to set up, whatever board they can. Obviously, it's not looking good for the main character here. Joking. But yeah, them bringing back a 3-star allows them to go right into this. They're just going to keep comboing off. Fortunately, we've got a pretty robust game plan with what we can do. We're going to go ahead and fast forward this a little bit. Yeah, they're going to keep comboing. There's not a whole lot we can do here in terms of we're just waiting for our turn, basically. I'm not going to speak to how good this deck is. I haven't had the best results with it, but they're going to go ahead and keep comboing. It's an interesting archetype. I'll give them that. So you're going to get to see a really interesting thing here. They're going to make Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. They're going to set up, they've got 1, 2, 2 Omni Negates plus, IP to Link Summon on my turn. So it's not looking great for us. So Impermanence here is going to go ahead and target that. I'm going to go ahead and force. I want them to use that. I'm going to special summon. So then I'm going to droplet, sending both of those. So this makes it to where now we get the concession. It's not every day you see a board broken like that. And then we're going to go ahead and do one more replay. That speaks volumes to the power level of this deck, that it can fight through Dragoon, which Dragoon is just a nuts card. It was recently unbanned on Master Duel. I haven't had a chance to test it a whole lot, but let's go ahead and dive into this game right here. So we open up with 2 hand traps, 2 Tenpai. And we get the concession. That speaks volumes to, that one. We're going to go ahead and do one more because, well, let's just do one more because I think that I thought that was a different game. And I apologize for the rough crudeness of the content. I'm getting back into doing this regularly and, getting things set up. So as it happens, you'll see us, both Brian and myself, we're going to refine the content and improve. So there's special summoning. There's not a whole lot I can do. I'm playing the Infinite Impermanence in hopes to bait stuff out. Just being able to shut them down is pretty good. This is Buster Blader. I didn't quite expect this deck. In hindsight, I probably wouldn't have fired off the Impermanence, knowing what I know now. They're going to go ahead and make Dragoon this game. Had I realized what I was playing against, and probably, honestly, is a misplay on my part, I probably should have just waited to see what they would do. I'm looking at, I've got a back row, I've got a Dragoon, and an Anaconda. So I'm going to force them to negate. It's a once per turn. I'm going to go ahead and special summon Bestial Magnet. This will allow me to have a pretty good setup. We're going to go ahead and grab Sanguine Summoning. And we get the concession. So it speaks volumes. Now, I know these aren't really super in-depth games. I'll have some more of those recorded later on. But I just wanted to kind of give a baseline of where the deck's at and my progress with the Duelist Cup. I'm planning on doing some gameplay and combo guides as well. And then, yeah, I'll let you know how the Duelist Cup goes. I really appreciate you guys. And as always, if you've got requests or if you want to see your matches streamed on our YouTube channel, we are happy to sit down and commentate on them to discuss our thoughts and feelings on them as well. Have a good night.